Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today there are many translations of the Quran, loads of translations. The problem is we don't necessarily know the aqidah or the manhaj of those people that are always translating it. This is because everybody now is publishing, everybody is now translating. Before, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people, they wouldn't want to translate things because they had, a level of responsibility. Yeah, so that's why before, even if you go back maybe 10, 15 years, you only found maybe a few translations of the Quran. But now there are so many different Quran projects, loads of people are translating, not just into English, but in loads of different languages. And I don't know if these things are authorized. Now, the translation that we have in the English language by Taqiyuddin Hilali and Mohsin Khan, may Allah bless them both, this is going through a process of them checking, them using, even in the introduction they say we're using Tafsir al-Tabari and Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, so they use footnotes and they use brackets, and also it goes through the official channels, so it's recognized by the King Fahd printing complex, and even I think Sheikh bin Baz gave a muqaddimah for them. Obviously he doesn't know English, Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz, but at least he's saying these people are trustworthy. So I think it's important that we understand that, because there's so many different translations. So it becomes confusing. The other thing is that the translation that was done by Taqiyuddin Hilali and Mohsin Khan, it was done I think in the 70s or the 80s. And there are things in there that they can say 40, 50 years ago that you can't say now. Such as فَضْرِبُوهُنْ, beat them. It says beat them, beat your women. You can't say things like that. And even the translation is not correct, because it doesn't mean beat, it doesn't mean violently attack them. So culturally, the translation of the Quran of those people who have done it correctly needs editing, or it's outdated. And this is a very big problem, because nobody is doing it, and nobody is on that level of giving the official authority, because the people who are, from the ulama and from the different governments, etc., they will probably just think that the Quran is being translated. Khalas, we don't need to edit it, we don't need to change it, it's the way it is. So that's why I don't think there's much importance given to it, even though it is very important. The other thing is, people are using now translations of the Quran to make it as if it's like a story. So I've seen one translation of the Quran, the way they've done it, it's not even by ayat, they've made it into like a story. So for example, Fatiha, you have 7 ayat, they've just made it into one like paragraph. So when you read it, it looks like you're reading like a story. And then they did that with the rest of the Quran as well. Other people, they are trying to use scientific facts, historical facts, mathematical facts, and put that in the Quran, in the translation of the Quran. I've even seen pictures of, the child in the womb, and these different things inside the English Mus'haf of the translation that they've got. Not Mus'haf, but understand. They put that inside there. So now this is my point. This is the first thing that I was saying, that the manhaj and the approach of people who are translating the Quran, it's become very mixed now. It's become very mixed. And it's confusing for some people. And those people who have got the correct translation, or the best translation, even that's old. So as you can see here, it's somewhat of a fitna. The other thing is, when it comes to the translation of the Quran, is that in the Arabic language, you've got so many tafasir that you can go to help you understand the Quran. But when it comes to English, I think there's only Ibn Kathir, maybe Tafsir Sa'di, that's been translated. That's it. So you are dependent now on Ibn Kathir and Tafsir al-Sa'di. If there is something that you don't understand an ayah from the Quran in the translation, because some of the ayat are not, there's no tafsir in it. So for example, wal asr. What does this mean that Allah swears by time? He takes an oath by time. I don't understand because there's nothing there in the translation to tell me. So let me go to the tafsir. Go to the tafsir. They are only restricted to Ibn Kathir and As-Sa'di. Now, you might think, okay, this is sufficient, but it's not sufficient. The reason why is because the tafsir of Ibn Kathir has been abrogated. Not abrogated, abridged. Sorry, not abrogated, abridged. Abrogated means something else. It's been abridged. So the people who translated tafsir Ibn Kathir, they didn't translate all of it. And you know better than me, Sheikh. I mean, Ibn Kathir is not for the mubtadi'een or the awam, because there are so many athar. It gets confusing if you don't understand what those athar mean or what Ibn Kathir means, because it's tafsir athari. So that's the problem. So now a person thinks, oh, I've got tafsir Ibn Kathir, let me open it up, let me start reading. And sometimes they might even get even more confused. And I've had this, people come to me and they ask me questions about the tafsir of the ayah. I'm sorry for making this long, but this is what comes to mind. There are other things that I think we need to mention as well, but I think these are the main problems when it comes to the translation of the Quran. Barakallahu feek. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes the conference beneficial, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this as an opening for the revision of the tafsir of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum.